You ever wake up in the morning, the first thing you think, is it Friday yet? I hate to admit that, but that thought did go through my head today. Really, the first thing that usually goes through my head is the coffee ready yet? Can I start? Now, I have shifted over. I got to be honest with you. I've shifted over to some sparkling water this morning because I've already been through more than my normal. What is your normal for the day? I mean, are you, I've always said it, caffeine is my drug of choice. But when you work early mornings, do you really have much of a choice at all anyway? That's where I'm at. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I have lived a life based on coffee consumption. First thought in the morning, is it ready? What am I going to do when I get to work? First cup of coffee when I get to work. How many cups do you have during the course? I'm going to give away this is what well-worn thermos. My wife is the best. Before she goes to bed at night, she's kind enough to set the coffee maker, and she makes a pot of coffee. She makes a pot of coffee, fills mine with hot water so that when I get up shortly after she goes to bed, I can put hot coffee in, and I'm ready. I'm going. Once it's prepared in here, it goes to work, and I'm good. But I don't think, how many cups of coffee do you drink? Do you drink coffee? That's question number one. Question number two, if it's not coffee, do you have another delivery service of some kind of caffeine? Do you do cold drinks? Do you do tea to get your morning stimulus, your kick to get this day started? I was curious, so I thought this morning on our first thought, we would take a look at coffee consumption in America. Check this out. This website is unbelievable, as into the detail that it goes into. It's called My Friends Coffee. It says, our team spent 300 hours on research, and here's what we learned about coffee statistics in the United States. And you talk about breaking it down. In 2019, 64% of Americans aged 18 and over drank coffee every single day. Yeah. Americans, though, you would think that we're the coffee country. We are not. Americans rank 25th in the world for coffee consumption per capita. The USA ranks 11th among countries with the highest caffeine consumption with a rate of 200 milligrams per day. Now you got to remember, when it says caffeine consumption, there are a lot of different ways you can get caffeines. People have found that out with energy drinks, right? Suddenly Red Bull, Monster, all these, they're out there. And a lot of people are drinking them first things in the morning. Bing, that's another one I've seen. The average U.S. coffee drinker consumes 2.7 cups per day, with the average size of a coffee cup measuring 9 ounces. More than 150 million Americans drink about 400 million cups of coffee per day. Wow. Are more than 140 billion cups of coffee a year. Okay, I knew we drank coffee, but that, you got to admit, that's kind of a mind blower. Billions of cups of coffee. No wonder we're always so wide-eyed. Here's the other question I have for you about coffee. Are you a morning-only coffee drinker, or do you drink coffee all day? My wife drinks coffee all day. All day. My grandmother, first person I ever knew that was that way. I mean, my grandmother would have a pot of coffee going, didn't matter of what time of day it was. There was a pot of coffee going at my grandmother's house. And, 8 o'clock in the evening, she's very likely still going to have coffee. That would be her beverage of choice, but, I guess it kept her going, kept her awake. All right, so we've gotten off to a quick start here with our caffeination of the day, talking about coffee. And again, let me remind you, the website is called, I'm going to show it to you one more time, My Friends Coffee. You can go and they've got, I'm sure they sell different things, beans, coffee makers, espresso machines, coffee grinders. Now, are you a connoisseur of coffee? Do you prefer your coffee? Do you care? I mean, is it, because some people go, oh, if it's not bean and I'm grinding it, it's not coffee. If it's coming out of the can, no, I'm not going to have it. I'm not that picky. I have had coffee through the years at television and radio stations that had no business drinking. I mean, literally tasted like dirty dishwater. But I drank it for some reason because I had to have it. I had to have my fix. Caffeine junkie. Got to have it some way. Today, I'd like to think my palate is a little more refined. It doesn't have to be, fresh ground. I prefer it that way, but I can drink it in other forms. I have been known to do a K-cup out of desperation, for sure. So anyway, let me know. Post up this morning. It's just kind of a fun thought. First thought for the day, first word is coffee. So let us know, A, where you're watching, how much coffee do you consume, and are you a caffeine junkie like moi? All right, so that starts things off this morning. Also coming up here on Dan's at-home update, we will also get you caught up on what's happening in the headlines, take a look at some of those numbers, and we'll finish things up this morning with kind of an ingenious plan by some Major League Baseball parks on how you fill the stands in the middle of a pandemic. Once again, good morning to you, and thanks for getting up with us on this Tuesday. It is indeed the 4th day of August for 2020. I'm Dan Gresham, the Caffeine Junkie, also the morning show host on KFDM TV and KBTV Fox 4. And hopefully you're having your first cup with us this morning, or maybe your second or your third cup. It really doesn't matter how far it goes. That's all good. We want to, again, encourage you, if you don't mind, to post up this morning if you have a thought, or if you just want to say good morning, maybe tell us about your caffeine, coffee habits. We promise not to tell anybody else except for the couple of thousand or so that might be dropping by the Facebook page to check things out. And of course, if you have a question or a comment about something else that's happening in our world around us, which hopefully, again, starts at the house and goes out from there, feel free to send them along. As we always say, we can't guarantee you that we're going to read every single comment while we're broadcasting or while we're live streaming, but we will certainly do it. We read everything when we're not, live streaming. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what's happening with you. All right. In fact, let's touch base, see who is up this morning. Hi, Marie. Good to see you. Brian Edgerly says, I wonder what BS the News is going to scare us today. Well, Brian, I think that's probably valid, that a lot of people take away from that they feel like, what they read is just that it's non-factual. But to me, if you go out and you find the sources that you believe are most likely, trying to be in your best interest, not every, I don't believe that every journalist is out there. And I think this is a seed that's been sowed very hard by politicians who want you to believe that everything that every journalist does is motivated in some way for a point of view. And I just can't agree with that. Maybe my point of view, I'm narrow in my vision, because again, 40 years of doing this, I've never had anybody walk into a room in an editorial meeting and say, this is what we're going to do today, and this is who we're going to paint this way. But again, I respect your opinion and I appreciate your voicing it. I'm just not, I don't believe that way. Kirsten Thomas, good morning to you. Emily Francois, I will say, Brian, that I think that we now have more people coming at us with their own interest in their journalism or in their reporting than we probably have ever had before. Brian Edgerly being clever, so you do drugs. Yeah, caffeine is a drug, Brian, so I guess I do. That is my drug of choice, caffeine. I also do occasionally ibuprofen. Cassandra Jerry, good morning. Danny from Hunting Island. How far into the painting are you? Well, the one behind me I'm done with. I know it may not look like it, but it's done. That's the way I do it sometimes. People go, well, you didn't finish. But, that's the hardest part about painting is knowing when you are finished with a painting. Emily Francois says, good morning to one of her friends. We want you to do that. Say hi to each other. That's cool. Terry says, what lies will he tell today? Hang around, Terry, to find out. Emma says, good morning, sunshine. And Cassandra says she's an all day. Emily says, I drink a Coke or Dr. Pepper. You're a cold caffeine person. I get that. Lyndall says she does 2 cups. That's it? 2 cups, Lyndall? Wow. Nancy says, no coffee. But you've got another one, right? Chason says, I didn't get the notification. Sorry, I'm not sure that one was sent out this morning. Sherry Bartlett says she gets 12 cups in a morning. Not in a day, in a morning. Wow. Let's see. Also, Jamie, you're even more prolific than I am then. Jamie, good morning to you. Thanks for getting up with us. Appreciate it. Also, Marie Jackson says she does 2 cups in the morning. Meanwhile, Debbie Anderson says good morning as well. Emily says she's not a coffee person. I get that. Carmen is. She likes it all day. Also, this morning, some folks are saying that they can drink coffee anyway. Doesn't have to be. Jessie says, I am not a coffee snob. Just gluten-free with almond creamer. Have you ever been with those people where they go and it's like, especially when you go to some of the high-end coffee shops where I want it with almond milk, 2 scoops of blah, blah, blah. And it's like this long formula. I just can't remember that much, I don't think. Steve Hicks says, and on the 8th day, God created coffee. Wabula says, I want fresh coffee, that's all. All right. So, okay, coffee drinkers, weigh in if you want to this morning. You're welcome to do that. And we'll continue on. Robert Long says, it is a good day in Southeast Texas. Are you of the opinion, Robert, that every day you wake up and there's, it's a good day, no matter what's going on in the world? It's still a good day. It's up to you whether you make it a good day or a bad day, and what kind of outlook you take into the day is going to shape it a whole lot. If you go in with, a real everything's terrible, everything, at least in my experience, that's usually the way my days work out, if I'm thinking that way. All right, let's get into the headlines this morning. We'll show you what's making news. We'll start things off at KFDM.com, where we try to keep you up to date with the latest local news. That's our goal. That's what we do. We do local news. Now, are you going to get some national headlines? Of course you are. But our focus is going to be on what's happening in our community, what's happening in Southeast Texas. So there we go. We start things off this morning, of course, back to school. Bridge City went back to school yesterday. Today would be their 2nd day. Also, speaking of schools, and this is going to be interesting moving forward. This is true. Will we see an uptick in the number of cases and people, getting COVID as school starts to open, as you bring kids into the mix? Here's one from BISD. We got notice that a Westbrook student playing football with the freshman squad testing positive. The student was there on July 29th. They contacted all the students that were present at that practice, and they gave them notice of potential exposure, which is going to be common practice now. And in accordance with UIL guidelines, Beaumont ISD implemented a screening, social distancing, and then a deep cleaning. And then they said, hey, everybody who was involved in that practice, 2 weeks before you can come back. Is this, do you think, going to be something that we're going to see on a regular basis if you get a lot of people back together, no matter what their age group, that we're going to hear, test positive, people exposed, having to start and stop things? Also this morning, a sad story out of Liberty County. 2 teenage Good Samaritans at the Trinity River in Liberty County, swimming where authorities say maybe people should not be swimming. Apparently a 5-year-old girl got in trouble. 25-year-old father managed to get her. 2 18-year-olds, 18-year-old, 17-year-old there, saw what was happening, jumped into the water without thinking about consequences to themselves. 18-year-old Jerson Alvarez and 17-year-old Wilmer Alexi Rodriguez reacted, tried to help the little girl, and for their efforts, they wound up drowning. So a very tragic story. And one their family is now dealing with, obviously, and county officials, again, telling people don't swim in that particular area of the river. It's claimed several lives through the years. But again, you think about, again, these people put themselves, these two young men, put themselves at risk to try to save somebody else. They may not have thought of it that way when they jumped in the water. That may not have been going through their head, but it is the reality that they lost their lives trying to help someone else. Sounds pretty noble to me. It doesn't help the family. It doesn't relieve the sorrow, but no greater gift. Also this morning, Tyler County man dies in a fiery collision with a tractor trailer north of Zavala. The mystery of a missing man in Angelina County, who is from Beaumont, as I understand it, has been solved as searchers found Travis Melanson, who is a Beaumont firefighter. And his family obviously pleased that he was found in the wooded area between Huntington and Zavala. All right, so that's kind of a quick overview of some of the stories. I always say, I'm not going to do the heavy lifting for you. That's for you to do. You go in and read the stories. You find the things that are of interest from you and dig in. There's plenty of information out there. Satisfy yourself by, doing the work that it takes to be educated about what's going on. Also this morning, want to just show you some numbers. Let's go to the latest from the Texas Health and Human Services. This is what they call their COVID dashboard, in which they keep up with not only testing and how many tests have been done, but also the number of people hospitalized. Now, look, I do want to point out, if you look at the very peak that we've seen in the state, that was 722. We had 10,000 people, almost 11,000 hospitalized in the state. And the latest numbers show a decrease. Epidemiologists, people who deal in infectious diseases, would probably say the number is still too high. Just because look how, compared to where it was in May, if that was your baseline, or even April. And back then, remember when this was on, we were shut down the country. We didn't leave the house. And now here we are, with these huge numbers. It's still high. Yes, it's coming down. And yes, that's positive. But at the same time, people say, these health experts are warning people not to get too excited, to maintain, to keep doing what you got to do. Now, when we talk about what's happening in Southeast Texas, we are Region R in the state of Texas. So when you go to this website, just go to R. That includes Galveston, Jefferson, Orange, Hardin, among other counties. You see the population is 1.3 million. And we currently have 194 hospital beds available, 5 ICU beds. And that's down from where we were. So that is significant and again, worth watching. I do want to also show you, if you have not seen them, the latest numbers. And the same old thing. You can argue these numbers. You can say they're not true. They're inaccurate. You can say they're undercounted, overcounted. But these are the numbers that are being made available from the Texas agency that is trying to keep up with it. Now, they've changed the way they do the reporting, and I'm not even going to get into that, but their numbers suggest 7,016 people have died in the state of Texas from COVID-19 related illnesses. Also this morning, the mayor of Houston, very upset. He says the problem is that people are just not taking this seriously, and now they're out partying, and that's only going to make the numbers worse. There's Mayor Turner speaking out yesterday. He's saying that he's asking residents to mask up and stop partying. Look at his tweet here. He says, there are too many street parties, house parties, Zydeco's on the corner, backyard parties. More happening in our city, especially when individuals are not wearing masks. I am urging individuals to please discontinue from having these parties as COVID-19 continues to spread. You know what he went so far as of today, Houston residents, it's not just a suggestion, you can now be fined $250 for not wearing a mask. He made that announcement on Monday. So going one beyond the idea of just making this a suggestion. Also this morning, if you're curious, we talked yesterday about names that are difficult to pronounce. How about Isaias? Would you have ever guessed that's what that was? Isaias. When this storm first started. Now it is pouring down on the mid-Atlantic, but it looks like it is not going to have or be a storm that has a whole lot of teeth to it. They will see rain, and they likely will see some heavy winds, but it's not likely to be a major issue that will impact the mid-Atlantic states going all the way up to New York. But they may see the heaviest winds that they have seen probably since Sandy. All right, let me ask a favor from you this morning before you all bug out on me, and that is hit me with a like if you don't mind, the little blue circle with a thumbs up, or you can, whatever, if you want to skip, hey, I don't like that guy. I'm not giving him a like. That's okay too. I mean, I just appreciate the fact that you gave me a little bit of your time today because I know how valuable. There is nothing, to my mind, more valuable than time. It is the only true currency that I know of. Money maybe equates to time. Money is about being able to have more time, in my way of thinking. So to me, there is nothing that I appreciate more than you giving me some of that currency in the way of time. I really do. All right, so let's leave you with this. I always say, every day we want to go out with something positive if we possibly can. Let's hit a couple more comments before we go this morning and see what's being said. Cassandra Cherry says, I love your response to trolls. Were there trolls? There were trolls. Vanessa Hoppau, after a cup of coffee, I go Big Red. Vanessa, I need you to meet a friend of mine. Dana Melanson should own stock in that company. I've never seen a person. He is, in my opinion, Mr. Big Red. You guys should get together. Brittany Roberts, I drink coffee all day. Good morning. Yeah, good morning to you. Jesse says, I'm allergic to real milk. I mean, I get that. A lot of people, my wife's a coconut milk person. Sheena Litt says, positivity. I'm all for that. Also this morning, hearing from Julia Moore, she says, Julie Moore, I should say, the water was moving way too fast for anyone to swim there. Still so sad. I agree. It is sad. And it's one of those that what was really, bizarre is that county officials are saying they posted signs, no swimming, and people took them down and made burned campfires with them. Jesse Kirkland, coffee cups up, K-cups too. All right. Also this morning, hearing from Marie Jackson, as I said. Thank you, Marie, for sticking around this morning. All right. Again, let's end with something positive. Let's talk. Major League Baseball is being played. Sports is being played. That college football, apparently, they're going to try to play. We'll see how far that goes and how far that gets. But what is an interesting story, Major League Baseball, they're playing a shortened season. Already, it's in a shambles. They've had 3-4 teams now that have had so many tests come back positive, and they're testing almost daily. Not almost. A lot of teams are testing absolutely daily. And yet, they've had so many tests come back positive. They've had to postpone games, had to postpone series. But still, they're trying. It's that, how do we live with this? How do we make this work? How do we figure out a way that life goes on, even though we're having to deal with this? Check this out. A lot of these Major League Baseball teams, Texas Monthly, reporting in their culture section, it's called The Ingenious Plan to Fill Globe Life Field During the Pandemic. Now, we know that, Major League Baseball is weird. It's going to be, off and on, start and stop, that sort of thing. But check this out. These baseball teams have figured out what you do is they've gone out and they're selling the opportunity to have a cardboard cutout of yourself in the stands. And it's pretty funny because apparently people can choose what kind of photograph they want to have in the stands. It can be them sitting, it can be them yelling, it can be, people taking pictures. And they're not the only ones. There are a lot of folks that are doing this, but you see the example. Pretty clever, though. We mentioned this morning how so many of our nonprofits are having to look for clever ways to try to generate revenue. You can't go, hey, we're going to have a fundraiser. Everybody's invited. We're going to have 5,000 people out for a gala. There are a lot of people that would come, but there are a lot of people that won't come. So you can't expect to raise the kind of money that you were raising before in this situation that we're currently facing. So it necessitates people being creative. And because of the hard times, people are coming up with some pretty creative ways to do it. And Major League Baseball, one of them, Girls Haven, one of them. I can name a number of charities and nonprofits that are working very hard. A lot of individuals, and the hard times you're going through too. And believe me, my heart still goes out to you. I think it's very easy to forget sometimes. We get into our own world and we forget the hardships that other people are facing. Sometimes we need to be reminded, whether we remind ourselves or I remind you, that there are people that could use your help. There are people out there that are struggling right now. So let's don't forget that. Let's keep that in mind and see what we can do to help others. All right. Appreciate your time today. Hope you got a great day planned. Go out and make the most of it. Again, don't live in fear. Just live with knowledge and with things that can help you be more comfortable. Always the reminder, too, that there are other ways that you can catch up with us. Of course, here at the Facebook page, KFDM News. Also on Twitter, if you're interested, Morning TV Dan. And if you go to YouTube, our channel is Dan at Home. Dan's at Home. So you can go and catch up with the same thing we do here on Facebook. We also do on our YouTube channel. So again, a like would be appreciated. More importantly, we look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Remember, go out, do your homework, be educated about what's happening around you. Make it a terrific day. Again, we'll talk bright and early tomorrow morning. So long.